What I'm about to reveal will make you rethink every blood pressure reading you've ever taken at home. Many seniors trust their monitors blindly without realizing how much technique silently distorts the result. Blood pressure reacts to tiny stimuli and can change within seconds, even when you feel completely fine. So when you think you're looking at a dangerous number, sometimes it's just your body reacting at the wrong moment. I'm Dr. Emily Carter, and you need to understand this deeply right now. Because mistake number 1, the most common of all, can alter your entire life. And before we get to it, we need to understand how everything starts to go wrong. Most people think checking blood pressure is simple and quick, almost automatic. They sit down, press the button, and wait for the number as if it were an absolute truth. But blood pressure is a sensitive vital sign influenced by posture, breathing, muscle tension, emotions, and even subtle movements. Every tiny detail shifts the reading, and no home monitor corrects this for you. The device simply records whatever is happening in that exact second. And that's where misdiagnoses, unnecessary fear, and dangerous treatments begin. All of it could be avoided with proper technique. To illustrate this, think of Evelyn, an active senior who believed she measured perfectly. Over the course of a week, her readings jumped from 128 to 168, and she panicked. She canceled plans, feared she was heading toward a stroke, and called her family in distress. When she arrived at my office, she looked like she was in the middle of a crisis, but something didn't match her symptoms. Nothing pointed to real worsening hypertension. The issue was hidden in her routine, not her heart. Evelyn took her blood pressure right after climbing the stairs to reach the monitor in her bedroom. Even though she insisted, "But I wasn't even tired," her body was still physiologically responding to exertion. Her muscles still demanded oxygen, her heart was pumping harder, and her blood vessels were adjusting. The reading reflected that altered state, not her true blood pressure. She thought she was sick, she was just rushed. And this is far more common among seniors than most people realize. This mistake, measuring right after even light activity, can raise a reading by up to 30 points. And when that number is interpreted without context, doctors sometimes increase medications unnecessarily. That's when dizziness begins, weakness sets in, vision blurs, and a senior believes their condition is worsening. But in reality, they're being treated for a problem they never had. Evelyn came dangerously close to that point. Many do, without ever understanding why. That's why you need to stay with me until the end. Because if one simple mistake can create this much chaos, imagine the impact of the errors that come before number 1. Each of them adds another layer of distortion. And the most dangerous of all, the one almost every senior commits daily, is still ahead. Many people think all they need to do is sit down, strap on the cuff, and press the button. But your body must return to its baseline state for the measurement to be meaningful. If you moved around, talked, climbed stairs, picked something up, or even walked a few steps, your pressure is not stable. And even a minor change can completely fool the monitor. It captures the blood pressure of that altered moment and turns it into a number that looks authoritative. And if it's interpreted incorrectly, that number can change your life. The body takes several minutes to stabilize after any activity. The heart is still adjusting rhythm, the blood vessels are recalibrating resistance, and the nervous system is compensating for recent stimuli. Even if you say, "But I'm sitting still now," your physiology isn't still. Measuring during this period creates a distorted reading without you noticing. And the faster you grab the monitor after moving, the farther you get from your true blood pressure. It's a silent mistake, but an extremely common one. Henry, a 76-year-old, spent months believing his condition was getting worse. His morning readings were extremely high, and he thought his heart was failing. He stopped walking, changed his diet, and began waking up afraid. But when we reviewed his log, I spotted the pattern. He always measured right after taking out the trash, a tiny task, but enough to raise his pressure temporarily. The numbers terrified him, but they didn't reflect reality. They reflected movement. When I asked Henry to rest for 5 full minutes before measuring, everything changed instantly. His blood pressure returned to a healthy range. He didn't have worsening hypertension. He had bad technique, and for months he lived under fear of a condition that didn't even exist. This kind of fear consumes seniors, steals quality of life, and pushes them into rushed decisions, all because of a missing 5 minutes of rest. This mistake creates a dangerous cycle. A senior sees a high number, gets scared, and measures again without resting. The reading climbs even higher, fueling more panic. The mind starts believing the body is spiraling, even though it's only reacting to flawed measurement. And when those numbers are shown to a doctor, they can be misinterpreted as a true clinical decline. It's a trap, and an avoidable one. And before we reach the most devastating mistake on this list, there is another everyday habit that spikes blood pressure dramatically without anyone noticing. It happens every morning and affects practically every senior who measures at home. And now you'll understand how something so small can raise your reading so much. This mistake surprises almost everyone, because most people have no idea the bladder affects blood pressure. But it does, significantly. When you wake up and measure before going to the bathroom, your body is under strong physiological stimulation. A full bladder presses against internal organs and activates reflexes that raise your blood pressure without any symptoms. And the monitor records all of this as if it were your true resting pressure. But it's not. It's simply your body responding to bladder distension. The increase can be 10, 15, even 20 points for some people. And because they don't see the cause, they believe their health is spiraling out of control. Many unnecessary emergency room visits begin this way. Many medication increases begin this way. Even many hypertension diagnoses begin this way. But the body is just sending a clear message: empty your bladder before you measure. Ignoring this creates false numbers that look completely legitimate. Leonard, age 81, dealt with this problem for months. He'd wake up, sit down, strap on the cuff, and measure immediately. His readings were always alarming, and his doctor considered adding another medication. But Leonard insisted he felt fine and had no symptoms of uncontrolled hypertension. Something didn't add up, so I asked, "Do you measure before or after going to the bathroom?" He paused. There was the answer. Once we adjusted his routine so that he emptied his bladder first, everything changed. His readings immediately dropped into the normal range. The issue was never his actual blood pressure. It was the order of his morning routine. And that small habit almost altered his entire treatment plan. This is how tiny errors evolve into major health risks. The worst part is that no one feels this change happening. A full bladder doesn't feel dangerous, but internally, the body is in a subtle state of alert. The nervous system activates, blood vessels shift, and the heart adjusts its workload, all silently, all without warning. And the monitor captures only the end result of this invisible process. And now that you understand this impact, you need to know the next mistakes become even more dangerous when combined. They stack, amplify each other, and produce readings that make absolutely no sense. And each false number pushes you further from the real diagnosis. The next error, for example, happens during the measurement and sabotages your reading without you noticing even a single second of it. Many people don't realize that talking during a blood pressure reading can completely sabotage the result. Every word you speak changes your breathing pattern, engages muscles in your chest and abdomen, and activates subtle physiological responses. The monitor is trying to detect incredibly delicate pulse waves, and any movement, even tiny ones, disrupts those signals. Even a calm conversation shifts the reading. The device can't tell whether the change is from stress or speech. It simply records the altered pressure, and that distorted number looks frighteningly real. Seniors often measure while chatting with family, answering the phone, or responding to someone in the room. It feels harmless, but it turns the reading into a reflection of activity rather than true resting pressure. Even the smallest vocal effort creates micro-tensions that alter the circulation. The cuff senses all of this as noise, and instead of giving an error message, the monitor presents a number with full confidence. You trust it. Your doctor trusts it. But it isn't accurate. It's a physiological illusion created by movement. Diane, a 72-year-old grandmother, fell into this trap for years. Every evening she called her daughter, put on her cuff, and kept chatting while the monitor inflated. Her nighttime readings were always 15 to 20 points higher than her morning numbers, and it terrified her. Her doctor suspected evening hypertension, a sign of cardiovascular risk. But when she demonstrated her technique to me, the cause was obvious. She wasn't still. She wasn't silent. The reading was never real. When I asked her to measure in complete silence, feet flat, arm relaxed, breathing normally, the results shifted instantly. Her nighttime readings matched her morning ones perfectly. All that fear, all that stress, came from a simple yet powerful mistake. She was almost put on stronger medication for a condition she didn't even have. That's how easily talking can mislead seniors and physicians alike. The danger is that this mistake feels invisible. People believe they're calm because they feel calm, but their bodies tell a different story. The monitor has no way to distinguish resting physiology from the subtle disruptions created by movement. It doesn't warn you, it just gives you a number. And that number can alter treatment decisions, spark anxiety, and distort your perception of your health. Now imagine this error combined with the previous ones, measuring right after walking with a full bladder while talking all at once. It creates readings that are completely divorced from reality. But the next mistake is even more deceptive because it involves gravity, physics, and the position of your arm, something almost no one gets right. For a blood pressure reading to be accurate, your arm must be exactly at heart level. Even a few inches above or below can dramatically change the result. When the arm is too high, gravity lowers the pressure in the arteries, making your reading look falsely low. When the arm hangs too low, gravity increases arterial pressure, making the reading falsely high. This isn't guesswork, it's physics. And millions of seniors unknowingly mismeasure because of this single detail. Many people rest their arm on their lap on a table that's too low, or worse, hold the arm up in the air. Some raise their arm because they think it helps them see the monitor better. But any deviation from heart level distorts the reading dramatically. The monitor has no idea where your arm is. It simply records the pressure it detects, and that number, though displayed on a medical device, may have little connection to your true blood pressure. It's an error that creates dangerous illusions. Thomas, a 76-year-old retired engineer, struggled with this for months. At home, his readings were perfect, 118/70, but in my office, they consistently measured around a 140/85. He thought he had white coat syndrome, but something didn't add up. When I asked him to show me how he measured at home, he lifted his arm high into the air so he could see the screen clearly. That movement alone dropped his readings by more than 20 points at home. His good numbers were an illusion created by incorrect arm positioning. In reality, he had unmanaged hypertension, and delaying treatment put him at genuine risk. Once we corrected his arm position, supporting it fully at heart level, his readings in both settings finally matched, and the seriousness of his condition became clear. Without correcting this mistake, he would have continued believing he was fine while his health silently deteriorated. The scariest part is how much confidence incorrect readings can create. When numbers appear low, seniors feel reassured and ignore concerning symptoms. When readings look high due to poor technique, they panic and assume the worst. Both reactions come from a misunderstanding of physics, not actual cardiovascular status. It's a subtle mistake with enormous consequences. And when you combine wrong arm height with speaking, movement, a full bladder, or lack of rest, the reading becomes completely unreliable. But the next mistake can distort numbers even more dramatically, because it involves something most people don't even know they can choose: the correct cuff size. This is one of the most overlooked and most dangerous mistakes in home blood pressure monitoring. Most seniors don't even realize that cuffs come in different sizes, but using the wrong size can distort the measurement by 20 to 30 points or more. A cuff that's too large makes the reading falsely low. A cuff that's too small makes it falsely high. And because the device doesn't warn you, millions of Americans are basing medical decisions on numbers that were wrong from the start. The monitor can't detect whether the cuff fits your arm properly. It simply inflates and measures the pressure needed to compress the artery. But if the cuff is too loose or too tight around the circumference, the device misinterprets the resistance. It believes your blood pressure is higher or lower than it really is. The number on the screen appears precise and authoritative, but it may have no relationship to your actual cardiovascular state. It's a hidden danger that misleads patients and doctors alike. Sarah, a 66-year-old woman with thin arms, had been feeling dizzy and lightheaded for months. Her home readings showed high blood pressure, so her medications kept getting increased. But her symptoms suggested the opposite: dangerously low pressure. When she brought her monitor to my office, the problem was immediately clear. She was using a cuff designed for much larger arms. Her readings were falsely elevated, and the extra medication was harming her, not helping her. Once we switched to the correct cuff size, her readings dropped instantly into the normal range. She never had uncontrolled hypertension. She had a measurement error, and that error led to overtreatment, weakness, near falls, and months of unnecessary suffering. This happens every day across the country, and most seniors never realize the source of the problem. What makes this mistake so dangerous is how legitimate the wrong number looks. It's displayed on a medical device. It looks official. It feels trustworthy, but it's data built on a faulty foundation. If the cuff doesn't fit, the reading means nothing. Yet people adjust medication, panic, skip exercise, or rush to the ER based on those false numbers. And when you combine a wrong cuff size with incorrect arm position, talking, movement, a full bladder, or lack of rest, the reading becomes a complete fabrication. But the errors get even worse from here. And before we reach mistake number 1, the most destructive mistake of all, you need to understand how timing and consistency can make your numbers look dangerously chaotic, even when your health is perfectly stable. Measuring your blood pressure at random times is like trying to understand a story by reading scattered pages. Blood pressure follows a natural daily rhythm, rising and falling in predictable waves throughout the day. In the morning, it often increases due to hormonal changes. By afternoon, it may fluctuate slightly, and in the evening, it usually tapers off. When you measure at inconsistent times, you're capturing unrelated snapshots of this cycle, and those disconnected numbers make your pressure look chaotic, even when it's perfectly normal. Many seniors check their pressure whenever they remember, and the results look like a roller coaster. One morning, it's 118. The next afternoon, it's 155. The person panics, convinced their condition is spiraling. But the variation isn't a medical emergency. It's simply physiology. Blood pressure isn't static. It responds to activity, food, sleep, hydration, and stress. Without consistent timing, your readings lose all meaning, and even the best doctor can't interpret them accurately. It becomes noise, not data. Franklin, a 72-year-old retiree, lived in this confusion for months. He measured whenever it crossed his mind, early morning, mid-morning, after lunch, before bed. His notebook looked alarming, filled with wild swings. His doctor began suspecting resistant hypertension, a serious condition. But when I analyzed his schedule, the truth was obvious. There was no schedule at all. His numbers reflected his day, not his disease. When I asked Franklin to measure only twice a day, once before breakfast and once before dinner, always seated and rested, everything changed. His readings became stable, consistent, predictable. His blood pressure had been well controlled all along, but randomness made it look dangerous. For the first time in months, he felt calm. The panic disappeared because the pattern finally made sense. All it needed was structure. The danger of inconsistent timing is not just the confusion it creates, but the emotional spiral it triggers. The senior sees a high number, gets scared, measures at another random time, sees another high number, and convinces themselves they're getting worse. Anxiety rises, and anxiety itself raises blood pressure. It's a self-feeding loop that leads nowhere helpful, and it all starts with timing, something so simple yet so often ignored. But even consistent timing won't save the accuracy of your readings if you're not recording them properly. Without written records, your memory fills in the gaps, and memory is notoriously unreliable when it comes to numbers. The next mistake explains why so many seniors feel lost even when their readings are actually stable. Human memory is not designed to store precise daily measurements. When seniors try to remember their readings without writing them down, they almost always recall only the highest numbers. Those numbers become the entire narrative. My blood pressure is always high, but it's rarely true. Without records, you can't see patterns, routines, or subtle changes. You live inside a vague sense of worry instead of clear, factual understanding. And this leads to miscommunication, misdiagnosis, and unnecessary fear. Many people check their pressure, look at the number, and go on with their day without writing anything down. But when the doctor asks, "How have your readings been?" they respond with guesses, a little high, up and down. Not great. That's not data. Doctors need dates, times, and exact numbers to interpret your condition. Without logs, They're flying blind. Trying to treat hypertension this way is like trying to fix a car without ever opening the hood. It's guesswork, and guesswork is dangerous. Rita, age 74, fell into this common trap. She insisted her blood pressure always goes up at night, but couldn't provide any numbers. When I asked her to keep a detailed record for 2 weeks, the truth emerged. Her mornings were consistently stable, but her evenings showed a predictable rise. This meant she needed a simple adjustment in the timing of her medication, not a stronger dose. Without written data, she would have been treated incorrectly, like so many seniors are. Logging your readings doesn't just organize information, it removes emotion from interpretation. When you see numbers across days, you realize small fluctuations are normal. You stop panicking over single readings. You understand your own body better. And when you hand your doctor actual data instead of memory fragments, they can finally make decisions based on reality. Accurate logs empower both patient and physician. Without writing things down, you enter a constant state of uncertainty. You think you remember, but you don't. You think you understand the pattern, but there is no pattern in your head, only highlights. This creates anxiety, which raises blood pressure, which leads to more anxiety. It's a cycle built entirely on missing information. And seniors suffer because of it, believing their condition is out of control when it isn't. And even if you get the timing right and keep perfect records, none of it matters if you commit the most destructive mistake of all. This mistake ruins every reading, every log, every conclusion. It affects nearly every senior in America, and almost no one realizes they're doing it. And now, finally, you're about to see it. This is, without question, the most damaging mistake in home blood pressure monitoring. Measuring over clothing, even a thin t-shirt, dramatically alters the reading. Fabric prevents the cuff from making proper contact with the arm. And rolling up a sleeve is even worse. It creates a tight band of fabric that acts like a tourniquet, compressing the vessels and artificially raising the pressure. The monitor cannot correct for this. It simply reports the altered reading as if it's accurate. And that false number has fooled millions of seniors. Your reading can jump by 10, 20, even 30 points depending on the clothing. And because the number looks official, people panic. Some start new medications they don't need. Others have their doses increased unnecessarily. Still others avoid exercise or call 911, believing they're in crisis, all because they didn't remove a shirt. It's shocking how something so simple can cause so much harm. But it happens every single day across America. Laura, a 79-year-old woman, measured her pressure daily with a thick sweater rolled up on her arm. She thought it was fine because the cuff fit, but her readings were dangerously high, and she spent years believing she was severely hypertensive. Her doctor increased her medication twice. She developed dizziness, weakness, and trouble with balance. Her quality of life deteriorated, but the problem wasn't her heart, it was her sleeve. When I asked her to remove the sweater and measure again, the result dropped more than 25 points instantly. The entire treatment plan had been based on a false reading. Laura had been medicated for a condition she never had. Her symptoms weren't from hypertension, they were from unnecessary medication. And all of it could have been prevented if she had simply measured on bare skin, the way every medical guideline in the United States requires. The danger of this mistake lies in how harmless it feels. A senior thinks it's just a thin shirt, but internally, the cuff loses sensitivity, the artery behaves differently, and the number becomes meaningless. The monitor doesn't warn you. It doesn't flash an error. It just displays a number with full authority, and that number dictates treatments, decisions, and fear. It's the most common and most destructive mistake in home monitoring. Measuring on bare skin is not a suggestion. It's a rule. Any layer of clothing destroys accuracy. A rolled sleeve destroys accuracy. A winter sweater destroys accuracy. Even a light t-shirt destroys accuracy. If you don't fix this one mistake, every reading you take will be unreliable. It's the mistake that turns medical data into fiction. And it's the one that puts seniors at the greatest risk every single day. Now that you know all 9 mistakes, you finally have the tools to measure your blood pressure with confidence, clarity, and accuracy. For the first time, your numbers will reflect reality, not technique errors, and that understanding can truly protect your health and your life. Now that you understand all 9 mistakes, you finally can see why so many home readings look frightening when they were never accurate to begin with. Blood pressure is one of the most important predictors of heart attack, stroke, kidney disease, and cognitive decline. And if you don't measure it correctly, you're not just misreading a number, you're misreading your health. When technique is wrong, the monitor becomes a source of confusion instead of clarity. And correcting that technique is what turns fear into control and uncertainty into confidence. I've seen seniors lose years of peace because of bad readings taken in their own homes. I've seen patients medicated heavily for conditions they didn't have. I've seen people convinced they were getting worse when nothing in their physiology had changed. All because no one ever explained the basics, the small, invisible details that turn a reliable device into a misleading one. That lack of information comes with a heavy cost, anxiety, unnecessary treatments, and sometimes even dangerous side effects. And all of it is preventable. Following the complete protocol isn't optional, it's essential. Empty your bladder first. Sit quietly for 5 full minutes. Keep your feet flat on the floor and your back supported. Position your arm exactly at heart level. Use the right cuff size for your arm. Stay completely silent. And above all, never measure over clothing. These steps may seem small, but together they create the difference between accuracy and error, between safe treatment and overtreatment, between peace of mind and constant fear. When your readings are correct, you give your doctor the information they need to make life-saving decisions. You avoid unnecessary medications and prevent dangerous drops in blood pressure. You regain a sense of stability and control over your health. For the first time, your numbers actually mean something. And with accurate numbers, you and your doctor can work together with confidence, not confusion. Accurate readings empower you to protect your heart and your future. If this video helped you, please share it with someone else who measures their blood pressure at home. A neighbor, a friend, a parent, someone who may be living with unnecessary fear because of simple, fixable mistakes. This information can truly prevent emergencies and spare someone from years of incorrect treatment. Sharing it could be the most meaningful act of health advocacy you do today. I'm Dr. Emily Carter, and my mission is to help you understand your body with clarity and truth. Thank you for watching and for taking your health seriously. Make sure to subscribe for more science-based guidance that can help you live safer, longer, and with more peace of mind. Take care of yourself, follow the protocol, and remember, measuring correctly is the first step to protecting your heart. I'll see you in the next video.